Hello from Las Vegas. On this week's episode, we're talking about Alaska Airlines and their new Atmos program, as well as their new credit card, which you really need to pay attention to. Richard is revealing this month's rent day for Built Rewards, and yes, once again, I'm having credit card problems, but it's not Chase. All that on this week's episode. Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. And I will just say, Mr. Kerr, as you said in pre-show, I agree with you. And now everybody listening and watching is wondering what the heck we're agreeing
including me.
on. So, yeah, no, so you were starting to say about how now that you started to eat better, anytime you eat food that's not good for you, your body rebels in various ways. And I would just say, like, my wife doesn't listen to the show. I know yours does, a time or two here or there. Maybe she'll hear this clip. Might have to play it for her, but there are very few things that I resent my wife for, but
it's a healthy statement.
Yes. I had my very low plotting energy level for many years, eating like heck and not exercising at all. And then I started to exercise and eat better because she told me it would help. And now when I'm on the road and I don't do those things, it's like an absolute train wreck.
Yeah.
And so had I just never been told by my wife that there was a better world out there, I would be just going through with this level of gray every day of like, I just don't feel great, but whatever.
Turns out being healthy makes you feel better. And that's, why you come here to the Miles to Go podcast for that kind of hard-hitting analysis. But no, for those of you who don't watch YouTube, Ed, I am now down 45 pounds since February. Getting close to that 50-pound mark. It turns out I feel a lot better. Shocker, right? Turns out traveling is, when you lose that much weight, you feel a lot better, traveling. Even though I did not feel very good in Vegas, just because I was so thirsty. But in the new digs in New York City, there are Peloton bikes in the basement of our building, and I will be planned to be reunited back with my old foe, the Peloton bike that I had many battles with circa 2018 to 2021 before they fired me as a customer because they refused to fix my bike. Now it's not my problem. But yeah,
you don't sound bitter at all.
No, not bitter at all about how many hours I wasted trying to fix that thing. And then literally for the first time I can recall actually being fired as a customer. Yeah, but yeah, man, looking forward to continuing this health journey because unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, there's still more to go. Even after losing 45 pounds, that's the sad part. I'm sorry. Still not there.
Well, the good news about the Miles to Go podcast is you and I are effectively in seesaw mode because I have gained 7 of the 45 pounds that you lost.
Is that where they went? You found them for me?
I took some of them for you. It's been a brutal stretch up to the grand opening of our very large restaurant on the Strip, and that has resulted in many long days, lots of really poor eating, many sugar infused caffeine bombs from Starbucks, and not a whole lot of exercise. I'm hopeful that will change starting next week, but I can assure you that today, as we sit here recording at 8 a.m. Vegas time, now my third call of the day. It will be at least a 3 caffeine bomb kind of day.
And all the road warriors listening understand, wait, we have all been there. We will all be there again. It is so hard to stay healthy when you are just pounding the pavement, man. So you have all the empathy in the world as a guy who just gets it more than most, I think.
Yeah, and today, just to make things extra special, 3:51 a.m. was when I was wide awake.
I was wide awake 4:47 a.m. Eastern time for no particular reason, except that, we're moving our entire lives in the next 36 hours, but that's neither here nor there.
Long days, I'm sure, for both of us. I'll have to show you this new thing that I'm trying that I learned about during the Tour de France, and I know there's almost... Yeah, exactly. It's called the Dream Shot, and it's supposed to help you sleep. And
I've heard of this.
Specifically, it's supposed to have stuff in it that helps you fall back asleep when you wake up in the middle of the night. And the only reason I didn't take one last night was what I heard was you feel groggy the first couple of days you take it. And I knew I had to be up to spend my time with you. And I didn't want to be groggy for our special time.
But if it's already the third call of the day, then you had to be up for somebody else before me. And now I'm a little jealous.
Well, yes, I'll have to keep that a secret. But a little bit of housekeeping. You can text us or leave us a voicemail at 571-293-6659. Email Ed at pizzainmotion.com. He is at Kerrpoints on all those social media channels. I am at Pizza in Motion. And we're talking about Alaska, Mr. Kerr, but not the state, though it is a wonderful place to visit. We're talking about Atmos Rewards. Is that the way to pronounce that?
It is. Atmos, the beginning of atmosphere, according to the Little spoiler, ladies and gentlemen, I had a heads up to this a couple months ago, thanks to our partners out in Seattle sending us the brand deck of the Atmos. And all of us who read it first went at most is what it was supposed to be, and they're like, no, Atmos, like atmosphere. And I was like, I'll be honest, guys, we didn't put that one together, and we're not the sharpest tools in the shed, but we're not the dullest either. So the name neither here nor there. I'm assuming you would like to know what I'm taking away from this program launch, and I have one conclusion, and I'll summarize it with an onomatopoeia. We avoided what could have been a disaster, and the folks in Seattle understand loyalty. That's what I'm taking away from this launch.
All right, well there you go. The first onomatopoeia on the.
I can't spell that anymore. I have to go back. I can't spell it anymore.
There's an onomatopoeia and an A, so yeah, something like that.
Why? You had to create a jingle to remember how to spell onomatopoeia. Third grade, 1960.
I'm here for everyone. I'm here for everyone listening.
Everybody stop listening now. All right, well, let's talk about whatever we want.
Let's cover some of the high levels of the new credit card that they released, which I can't even necessarily say premium card, just because at a $395 annual fee, it's half of some of the most expensive cards on the market, but a really good value. So at a high level, I think we all knew this was coming. And in fact, they had a sign up last year where if you signed up for the waiting list, you got an extra, was it 5,000 points on the sign up bonus?
Yes, and now it's points, not miles, ladies and gentlemen. Atmos points. Remember that.
Yeah. So we've been waiting for this announcement. Here it is. We covered this on the show, call it 6 months ago when this came out. So we hope you signed up for that extra 5,000 point bonus. And here's what that gets you. So for starters, it's a 100,000 Atmos points sign-up bonus. So when you spend $6,000 on the card, you get 100,000 points. You get a 25,000-mile global companion certificate. We'll talk about this in more detail in a second, but basically it's a 25,000 point discount off of an award flight when you're traveling with a companion. If you spend $60,000 on the card over the course of a year, you can earn a 100,000 point global companion certificate. There's a status boost element to the card. So after your first year, you get 10,000 points towards your next status level. Spending on the card earns status at a rate of 1 status point for every $2 spent. And the card earns 3 points per dollar on a very interesting category, spending overseas, foreign spending, as well as 3x on dining and on flights on Alaska and Hawaiian Airlines. I'm not going to be foolish enough to ask you, Mr. Kerr, if you are going to be signing up for this card. I know full well the answer to that. So I will ask you instead, are you going to be paying your rent on this card?
Absolutely. Was in a text back and forth with our buddy Gary Leff this morning. And don't forget the 8 annual Alaska Lounge passes as well that come with the card. But I mean, this is really a no-brainer for me with New York City Rent now, because our 3x miles does apply to this new card. And with the spend thresholds plus the initial sign-up bonus, I am more than happy, dare I say, to pay the 3% fee in order to unlock the 100,000 point discount. I mean, that's a free business class ticket, and then you can top it up in unlimited amount. So 100% will be going after that using not only that, but now I got a really good shortcut to One World status, including once you get up high enough in One World, I can use flagship dining every single time I fly out of JFK in the AA lounge, if you got high enough One World status. So with that as my new home city, I mean, there's value after value here, not to mention just the value of Atmos points, which remain unchanged in the redemption. We'll go over this through the new program itself in just a second here. But dude, is there a reason I should not be paying my New York City rent on this, hitting those spend thresholds, earning One World status, and getting that many redeemable Atmos points, which remain as valuable as they were before the program launched?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would just caveat, and I'm not going to use the D word that everybody loves to use in our space, but I think it's fair to say that it may be more challenging to find the best awards on Alaska going forward, but I still think that there's going to be a relatively outsized amount of value in their program, and I don't have an issue with you doing this. I don't think it's right for everyone, to be clear, but I think where this lines up for you, because I think you and I both know the value of elite status on airlines is greatly diminished over what it was. And so the value for a single trip is fairly low unless you're able to get, extra legroom seating for your extended family or something like that. So I wouldn't necessarily say somebody else should, pay 3% fees to get to the 60,000 to help them earn status for maybe like one trip a year. That would be tough. But for anybody who travels as much as you do, I think it's a no-brainer.
I'm not going to disclose what my rent is in New York City, but it is enough where I'm going to hit the 60,000 spend in a year and just going.
You live in New York City. You don't need to disclose your rent. Yeah, we all know.
That was a dry heave. Doing the math and the fees, right? And then what you value at an Alaska Mile Atmos point at today, plus what you would value a 100,000 point certificate at. Some other neat things, right, is you unlock the ability to transfer Alaska points to 5 different airline programs. They haven't come out with the exact, but the SVP of the program is quoted as many of these at a 1-to-1 exchange rate. So, if you can earn, it looks like they have Shangri-La, Preferred Hotels, Wyndham, IHG, and Marriott. Marriott would be the one I'd be most interested in just because I have no other path to earning Marriott points right now. It just gets really interesting, man. I think all of that value weighing against the 3% fee, I think it's just going to make sense for me to do this. Now, the opportunity cost is I'm giving up 1 free bill points per dollar, which I happen to be in the unique position of knowing when those might turn into, say, 2 bill points per dollar. But it's going to be like, I'm going to go for it this year. I really want to check out this 100,000 point discount. Again, as the kids get older and these trips get more expensive to plan, like something like that would be, it's worth thousands of dollars, I would easily say, potentially like $5,000, right? If you get business class round trip. Or significant savings on one with points. So I think I'm gonna go for this. So excited about the card.
And I don't want to be mean or disrespectful to you in any way, shape, or form because I've never ever done that before. But I think that if you were to transfer your Atmos Rewards points to Marriott at a 1-to-1 ratio, I would fly to New York and.
Again, it would be a very
try to beat you silly.
It would be a very unique situation, just like it was actually in Denmark when I was looking at like options. Like there just happens to be Marriotts everywhere, and there was something that wasn't a terrible deal. Like there are selective uses for Marriott points that we all need, which is why I think we keep some around. That would not be the first choice, but the optionality just brings additional value to a flexible currency.
I agree. Yeah, but it's fairly far down my list of things I'm going to jump in on in terms of value for the points. I agree that Marriott points have use for them. I just think playing in that ecosystem really involves having paid hotel stays in their ecosystem. Like that's the way to earn points in an effective way in the Marriott program. And most of the transfer partners just don't make sense for my travel patterns. I think you and I, we've talked about in the show the last handful of weeks. You and I found a lot of value overseas in the Accor, ALL program. And I would say, those points are tough to get a hold of for somebody who doesn't stay at Accor properties very often. And I'm now crediting all my car rentals to Accor. I'm trying to find ways to build my Accor balance. And I sort of see that as my backup to Hyatt in Europe or Asia as opposed to Marriott. Not that I wouldn't choose Marriott if I had a bunch of points, but I think I'd go the ALL path again.
Mm-hmm. So you want to go from the Atmos Rewards Summit Visa Infinity Card, annual fee $395, over to the program at large and some interesting things that they've done here with the new Atmos program?
Subject to terms and conditions. Yeah. Restrictions apply. Yes, hit it.
So I think overall, program status-wise has new names, but the benefits remain the same. There's a couple of things that are very interesting, including global upgrades to business class on the day of departure, even on the long-haul routes, which nobody else in the United States does. I think the most interesting part is you pick how you want to earn status. Do you want to leave it the way it was, which is distance traveled, 1 point per dollar flown, with some bonus, on there if, you buy up into expensive fare class? Can you go revenue based starting at 5 points per dollar, which is what everybody does? Or do you want to go flat earning per segment? Let's say you live in Hawaii and you fly back and forth between islands every single day for your day job. I think it's really interesting. Right. Your buddy Brett Snyder, Cranky Flyer, I read an article of his this morning that says this is terrible. It's too complicated. This is why he didn't like it. What say you, Mr. Pizzarello, about, before we go into the other parts of the program, but you pick how you earn status. You excited about it? You're not excited about it? And which one are you picking if you were going to be going for Alaska status, which I don't think you have any reason to do?
Well, and I would just say, like, I think Brett Cranky Flyer is a pretty smart dude, and he's also a guy who visits Hawaii quite a bit, and so I think I would absolutely take his comments, and they would carry a lot of weight with me. Having more choices isn't a bad thing, but I think you and I both know I was having this conversation with Mark, who's helping us out with the YouTube stuff. We were talking about last week's episode and how Wizz Air in the title didn't blow the doors off in terms of the number of downloads and views. And it's like, it's a good reminder that most people use programs in a very basic, straightforward way, including, travel in the US from, one place to another. And so like all the complex stuff, most people probably aren't going to use it. I don't necessarily think it's bad per se, but I think it's really designed for a very small portion of the membership. And for Alaska, it's a very passionate
Yep.
part of the membership.
I think they had to stay true to that because people based in Hawaii, in order to honor the merger, you can't go, you can't not have segments be a part of this. I don't think, because they're just not going to fly enough. Those tickets between the islands are not expensive on purpose so that they can travel back and forth. I think it would have been a shame to get rid of this. And I think it also just speaks to what the folks at Alaska have always done, is they've just stayed, I think, more true to the traditional loyalty program. And then to your comments about, this is only for a select amount of nerdy people, like this, long live the mileage run, man. How many people are going to be looking for cheap one world fares to credit it back and figure out, just like we did in the old days, of where can I go fly for the most miles for the cheapest price and get myself Alaska status for another year, which is fun, right? And that's just a way to engage the people. I think overall in this, well, before we get overall, again, new elite tier names. It's now silver, gold, platinum, and titanium, which is great because I thought MVP gold, MVP 75, that got confusing, I think, for most people.
I still didn't know.
Yeah, still hit. But, I wouldn't say that there's too much else that has changed in this, again, other than their points and miles. They say there's going to be other ways to engage with it. There's communities. There's all kinds of things coming. I think what they have done here is, for what quote unquote should be a regional airline based to people in Alaska and the Pacific Northwest and West Coast to care about, everybody nationwide and arguably now international is talking about and thinking about engaging with this program, which is what a loyalty program should be. I lived in Atlanta. Now I live in New York City. Why am I paying my rent with an Alaska credit card? Like everybody, 5 years ago, 10 years ago would have been like, what? Like, what? Does this guy fly back and forth to the Pacific Seattle every single week? Like, they've done the job of the loyalty program, which is get people to engage with it either deeper or for the first time, both with the co-brand cards and with the mechanics of this program. And I think it's fantastic. I really hope that we continue to see Alaska points, Atmos points, hold their value when it comes to redemptions and redemptions on partners. Outside of American, you could argue this is the best way to redeem on partners, or a lot of different partners, a lot of great nerdy partners. Airplane has it, but Airplane has, a bit more taxes and fees for some partners, and it costs a little bit more Airplane points than Alaska points. There's no such thing as too many Alaska points still today. And as long as that holds true, I just think this is a fantastic way to launch this. And I'm not said, put the day job stuff aside for all you people going, of course you're going to say this. Like, I think you and I are pretty honest about most things on this podcast. And I think they've done a great job with the rollout of this.
Well, I take it a step further too. When you say, about people all over the country now, talking about a more regional airline, you're talking about earning status and points in a loyalty program, and you're not going to fly that airline to earn those points.
And I haven't flown that airline, and you're not going physically in 5 years. I haven't been on an Alaska plane.
And when you redeem those points, you will almost certainly not be redeeming them for flights on that airline. I guess there's a small chance you might go to Hawaii because, cool place to visit. But I mean, the value in the Alaska program. And I remember, I don't remember which of the executives that said it when we had the Built Retreat in Austin last year, but one of the Alaska executives said that when they polled their members, the thing that they heard from their members was they wanted to earn points, for spending on Alaska to travel everywhere else. That was their goal. And he said it more eloquently than I did. But they acknowledge that their program is built to, like, you're going to fly on our regional airline, you're going to spend on our credit card, you're going to do these things so you can travel the world on some other airline.
And again, these guys just get it, right? The fact that 3 of the Alaska executives came to our offsite and sat down with all of us nerdy points and miles people, or I guess I should say now you nerdy points and miles people, right? Not too many programs willing to do that. And they just get it, right? Even too, like, there's some other things that kind of flew under the radar with the new card thing, but that unlocks points pooling, where it says, card can create a sharing network with up to 10 other members to transfer points back and forth for free. That's huge. Like, Emily has 25,000 Atmos points in her account now. Like, I can pull those over and now book everything out of one account.
Yeah.
Like, little things like that just is like, okay, these guys get it. Like, these, It's really exciting
Yeah.
stuff. Even launching the 3x miles on rent, value prop with us, it's been very successful. And I think now we're just going to see a massive spike on this new premium card with the number of people paying their rent soon to be mortgage with this. And we're super excited about it. And I think very few critiques from me outside of maybe the name, which sorry folks, if you're listening to this from Alaska, I just not the biggest fan of this. I don't think Atmosphere was very obvious for a lot of people, but here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot more to say about the program, and I listed, just as you know, I listed a lot of the highlights. I think there's more stuff that we can dig into, and I think we will dig into over time. There's a lot of discussion about this in the Slack community. It's been a big buzzy topic. I wouldn't say there are too many people in the community who are negative about any of this stuff. I think people are asking questions. A lot of people see this as a valuable path for them, and I would imagine a lot of those folks will be signing up for it. And as a veteran podcaster as I am, it's a great segue to say, if you want to support the show and spend a few bucks a month, you can do so by joining our Slack community. There are links to that in the show notes. We have a bunch of channels there where we answer questions, travel experts like Mr. Kerr and myself. And we try to have weekly happy hours, but my schedule the last month has been absolute trash, and it's been tough. So we're going to try and have one this weekend. But I'm hopeful that as August becomes September and the life becomes a little bit more normal, that we'll get back on a more regular schedule. We're also working on a meetup in Disneyland in October and a Vegas meetup as well when things cool off a little bit in October.
So, we checked the school calendar. The Kerrs will be in Disneyland in October. So we are excited, man, because I've never been to Disneyland. Long overdue.
I like it. All right. Well, I think, Mr. Kerr, that time has come for me to take a step back and allow you to take the stage and tell folks what they can expect this month for Built Rent Day.
Let me check the calendar one more time before I spill the beans and make sure that we're going to be live here. Yes, we will be. You'll be listening to this on Wednesday the 27th.
I'm glad you've done all the work you needed to do prior to
our
recording.
Schedules have been nuts, man. I think I got really lucky. I had a cord for this microphone today. I don't have no idea why I had a cord for this microphone, because the one I use all the time is somewhere in between here and New York City. Yes. Really excited today to announce that we have a couple of really special and valuable things with our friends over at Virgin for this rent day. So depending on what kind of Built member you are, you will have between a 40 and a 100% transfer bonus over to Virgin this rent day. Good for 27 hours only on September 1st. Again, the reason it's 27 is so that the West Coast can get all the way to midnight. And that's a 3-hour time difference, 24 plus 3. It is 27 hours. That'll be live.
It really is.
There is no cap to the number of points that you can transfer over in the single day. And I think based on the performance that we've seen of how this is done with Virgin previously, a lot of people get excited about this because transatlantic flights just are not very many miles. Taxes and fees are not where they were, but I, again, still see, based on the traction of the program, there's still a lot of value to be had there. I continue to use Virgin points for domestic Delta flights. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do that, since Atlanta is no longer home. But it is always a place that I go and search before booking with Sky Miles is, can I use my Virgin points or Flying Blue Miles for that matter to book this Delta flight? So really excited about that. That's number one. But wait, there's more. Number two, we are bringing back a status match that people found incredibly valuable last year. And this is the launch of a new evergreen status match benefit for our Built Status program. There will be an ongoing Virgin Voyages status match moving forward, where Built Silver and Gold members will be getting Blue Extras, which has some very valuable perks, and our Built Platinum members will be getting Deep Blue Extras, which is the highest status that Virgin Voyages had, and includes things like free Wi-Fi, free onboard credits, coffee bar, free laundry. And if you're going to be taking a Virgin Voyage, which is, we think, the best cruise line that fits our demographic at Built, and a lot of people have gone over the last couple of years and been excited about it, it's pretty valuable. And that will be open for the rest of this year and next year. It will be good this year if you've qualified for Built Platinum. And if you book a cruise this year while you have the status, that status will be honored as far in advance as you book that cruise. So even if you book a cruise in 2027, right now in 2025 with your Deep Blue Extras, when it gets to 2027, you will have those Deep Blue Extra benefits. Same thing for next year. If you requalify for Platinum this year and you have it again, you can activate that Virgin Voyages status match. And if you book a cruise in 2028 while you're Built Platinum in 2026, those benefits will be honored in 2028 as a Deep Blue Extras member or a Blue Extras member. We're going to get into the space of doing a lot with Virgin as a whole. I can tell you There's more to come with Virgin, more to come, a lot of deep technical work going on behind the scenes so that we can unlock more with a wide array of Virgin companies that do some pretty cool things around the world if you've not looked at everything that the Virgin company does. And this is just the first step. So I hope everybody enjoys the transfer bonus. And if you're going to be booking a adults only Virgin Voyages, again, you must be 18 or older to go on a Virgin Voyage. They have their brand new ship launching the first week of September out in Brooklyn. They're selling it from London over to Brooklyn. I'm going to be on board that ship for one night in Brooklyn to check out everything. I've not been on board a Virgin Voyage ship yet. As much as they've tried to get me to go, it's difficult to find somebody to watch the kids at the last minute whenever, opportunity comes up. But everybody enjoy your transfer bonus over to Virgin, whether it's Virgin Red or Virgin Atlantic Flying Club. And then if you're going to be going on a cruise, you might as well go with some status and some benefits. So check that out, and happy to have yet another benefit for our Built Elite status holders.
Yeah, so lots to unpack there. I knew none of that before we started recording. So for folks who think I get a peek under the kimono early, no early information. So first reaction is I've transferred to Virgin from the Built program before. So I definitely see the value in that. You're right, there are some pockets of it that are not as valuable as it used to be, but I still think there are great opportunities to use the points. And I think there are some intra-Europe opportunities to use the points as well, via partners, just like you use them for Delta flights. I would say, interestingly enough, as an aside, not talking about the transfer bonus specifically, but as you know, like you and I, we dumped our entire balance into the Accor program, before the summer to cover our European vacations. My balance is growing a lot quicker than I was expecting, based on yours and other recommendations from folks of me booking my flights through the Built travel portal. And I've been really impressed with, sometimes I forget that I booked it through the Built travel portal, and I've changed my, United flight on the fly because of a problem, and I get a notification from Built letting me know that my flight was changed by United. So great way for folks to earn points on things you're already booking. I had my first Built hotel booking last week for one of my employees. Went perfectly smoothly, and I earned points on that booking. So I'm certainly dabbling in the portal. I don't know if I'll transfer to Virgin or not, but certainly on my radar are things to consider. The Virgin Voyages piece is really interesting to me. You pointed out the one flaw is the wrong word, but because Virgin Voyages doesn't allow kids under 18, we'd have to find someone to watch our son to take a Virgin Voyages cruise. That being said, I mean, not only are their ships really nice ships, but they have really interesting itineraries. They don't go to all the same islands everybody else does. So I really want to go on a Virgin Voyages cruise. We just got to find, someone to watch our kids. So we should probably just work out an exchange where I watch your kids while you go on a cruise, and then you can watch my kids while you go.
Send them on up for a 5-day weekend in the city. We'll educate them on up right there with the Georgia folks in New York City. I'm not sure how nervous that makes you feel, but no, do it.
He eats like a horse. I'll just say that.
So does Tom. It's so great.
Don't want to stock up.
We buy all the food, all the expensive New York City food. Yeah, I've been wanting to go on one. We've had quite a few Built employees have the opportunity to go on a Virgin Voyage. For people who are, again, I think I mentioned this on a previous episode, but I would call them non-traditional cruise enthusiasts. People who have never been on a cruise before, have always had an aversion to cruises. They have gone and they've come back and said, it is fantastic. It is a lot of fun. It is the anti-cruise cruise for the people who want to check it out. So again, go get your benefits. It's going to be open as long as you have, some of your Built status. And I'm definitely eventually going to take advantage of it.
I'll sound like I'm sucking up to you again, but I do like the fact that you guys continue to bring out interesting and unique things through Built status. I requalified for my Platinum status just last week. And, like Blade, Air France status, now, Virgin Voyages status. These are things that I don't get from other programs. So it's why I'm continuing to be invested in the Built ecosystem, Mr. Kerr.
Excited to hear that. That is the entire, point of it there. I just want to read. We've been looking at, product flows for this status match. So I'm just going to read everybody the benefits of Deep Blue Extras if you are Built Platinum. Some of these, sure, but other ones valuable. So dedicated sailor services support, priority boarding at embarkation that can help so you don't have to sit around the terminal, complimentary laundry service, 2 press items, 1 specialty cleaned, and a whole bag of laundry, unlimited premium Wi-Fi, exclusive cocktail event, $100 bar tab credit, 2 specialty coffees per day, and then the rest of it is kind of what you get for going on a Virgin Voyage. But I would say $100 bar tab's worth $100. 2 specialty coffees a day, laundry, complimentary premium Wi-Fi for the duration of the cruise. That's probably, I don't know what they charge for that.
That's pricey.
Probably pricey.
Yeah, that's That's a couple
Yeah.
$100.
And then priority boarding, which again, always great if you get there and you can just get on board and you don't have to mess around sitting around the terminal until they call your boarding
I
group.
agree.
So again, pretty valuable. Really excited about it. The Virgin team has been great. Remember, there's Virgin hotels that have the Virgin hotspots all around the world. There's safari lodges, there's mountain lodges, there's Caribbean islands. I would just tell everybody, keep an eye on the space. We are excited about our friends over at Virgin.
I like it. Well, I feel like we've reached that point in the show where we should, at this point, probably have Mr. Jeremiah come up with a new graphic for us, because we don't have Frontier Tales every week, but it feels like we have credit card catastrophes. I'd like to tell you that everything is better in the credit card world for me, and yet here we are. So I will say that we talked about this in a couple shows in a row where Chase locked our cards down due to what they said was some sort of a fraudulent points transfer that we never really discovered. Those cards are working again. We've talked a little bit on the show about Capital One being a troublesome bank to work with at times, and usually it's foreign transactions and fraud and stuff like that. I've got a new one. So
a new bank or a new problem?
Yeah, new problem. Yeah, new
same
problem.
Bank, new problem.
So I same bank, new problem. So I carry the Capital One Venture X for Business credit card, and I also have the personal version of the card. And we opened up this new restaurant, and so I said, well, as we're shuffling things around, we want to have a credit card that was just associated with that restaurant, make it easier for bookkeeping, download transactions, yada, yada. So we're like, all right, well, we're going to use this card for that restaurant, dedicated to the restaurant. That restaurant happens to bank with Wells Fargo, where our other restaurants bank with Bank of America. You would think a fairly benign detail. And yet we sent a payment electronically from Wells Fargo to Capital One via the Capital One website. And they shut all my accounts down. And they said it's under review. And so the first thing they asked for was a statement. It was very vague. And so we sent them a statement. And they said, oh, no. 10 days later, this has been going on now for 10 days now. They finally got back to me and said, no. We need the statement that has this payment that they rejected, because we need to prove that it came from your account to make sure that there's no fraud issues. I'm like, well, I'm not going to have that statement for another 3 weeks. Like, the statement closes at the end of the month. And like, well, maybe you could call your bank and they can get you your statement early. Just absolutely absurd things on the phone. So I've sent them a bunch of screenshots now. I sent those Wednesday, I think, and have heard nothing. And the accounts are still all locked down. And what that means, by the way, is that when you walk into a Capital One lounge, when your card is locked down for this bizarre payment issue, they kick you out. And so I was told I could pay $99 or I needed to leave the lounge when I tried to use the lounge.
Really? I think
I can't use,
find a new bank. I think
I can't use Capital One Travel, because that's all locked down for me right now. So I can't book hotels or anything through that, because I can't log into my Capital One account. So everything in the ecosystem is locked down. And I think the Chase thing wasn't great. Don't get me wrong. I can sort of live with that. But this whole now I'm locked out of the Capital One Travel ecosystem. I can't use their card because I use that as my primary car rental insurance card. So it's caused a lot of disruption. And it's just, again, another example of a card that's really not geared for business. Like they say, these are business cards, but I mean, none of my patterns changed other than I paid from one top tier bank instead of paying from another top tier bank. And somehow that has led me into this black hole of compliance nightmare.
Dude, I understand why so many rules exist to prevent the kinds of fraud and theft and bad actors and stuff. But yeah, it seems awfully difficult these days to access your own money and do the things that you're just supposed to be doing. It's not like you're doing any kind of complex financial transaction here. You're making a payment.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That sucks. That's frustrating.
It is.
You have to go to some neobank that specializes in large business expenditures.
Well, we talked about this, a couple weeks ago on the show, and I think last week too. Throughout all of this, and throughout, dating back to 1994 when I first signed up for my first American Express card, they just work for business. Yeah. And so, I don't value the currency maybe as highly as I value some of these other currencies, but I don't have these problems. And so, but I just pushed a bunch of more stuff over to Amex. So I have a lot of various Amex currencies, whether those are Hilton points or membership rewards or whatever, because they work for my business. At the end of the day, it's great to earn points as part of your business expenses, but at the end of the day, I got to run my business.
I let you and Howie know this yesterday, but a big week for me in American Express. A 300,000 point welcome offer on the business platinum card that I just could not turn down. Man. So I'm back in the game with another platinum card. Happy to pay the annual fee if they're going to hand me 300,000 membership rewards. This was a non-public offer that I won't disclose how I very above board got this the way that it's supposed to be received. We'll call it a targeted offer. So unfortunately, nothing public, but man, 300,000 points. I applied at like 10 a.m. on Wednesday. The card showed up on my doorstep by noon Thursday, and we're off and running to meet that minimum spend ahead of what will be an expensive move period for us. So I had transferred the vast majority of my membership rewards over to Hawaiian, which are now Alaska Atmos points. So I needed to restock that Amex balance, and here we go in one shot, man. Knock it out. So if you need to use my business platinum card to run your business for a few months until you get Capital One sorted out, you let me know. I'll be happy to turn that over to you, and you can just knock it out.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And I will say, like one of the things that I would say before, I think we were all sort of ambivalent about was this. Okay, can it really be worth spending $75,000 on an Amex Platinum card to continue to get Centurion Lounge access? And I think my answer largely for most people is it's probably not going to be worth it. But I'm not going to have any problem clearing that hurdle now that Chase and Capital One continue to kneecap me and make it harder to put business expenses on their cards.
Yeah. The other thing that went through my mind is like I was going to get this card for 300,000 points period, but I was like, oh, I might become an American flyer now out of LaGuardia, and Terminal B has the Chase Lounge and the Centurion Lounge right next to each other, and with the Ritz-Carlton card and now with the Platinum card again, the lounge options are plentiful, even though my goal will be to get to the airport shortly around the time I can just walk through security and walk onto the plane. Not that I want to hang out there, but
yeah,
in the case that I need to, at least it's there now.
Yeah, no, I get it. Those are some of the nicer lounges in the country that the credit card companies have opened for sure. I don't know what the waits are like in those lounges. So I wish you good luck and Godspeed.
Yeah, it'll be nice to get out of that Delta terminal at LaGuardia there, where there's the single Sky Club that always has a line out front, and then even if you do get in, you can't find somewhere to sit. So
let's be honest, it's just going to be good to not be commuting.
I hope I don't see very much of LaGuardia the rest of this year. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. I think I spent 4 days at home in August, so I'm fervently looking forward to drastically reducing that number later on this year.
Yep, I will. This time for real. By the time you're listening to this, I'll be on day number 3 of a permanent New York City residence. So we'll see how it's going. Check in on next week.
And as we close the show, I will just say I will point out that you said that you would not be recording from that area anytime in the foreseeable future. And yet here you are, one more encore performance from Noonan, Georgia. And Mr. Kerr, myself, and all the listeners are very happy to have seen the drywall in Noonan, Georgia. One more
there
time.
You go. There's not much else left here.
All right, Mr. Kerr, I hope that the family has a very safe trip relocating up to New York. If you need me, you know where I'll be. I'll be in the desert where it is very hot and sweaty. But I am looking forward to getting this massive restaurant open. My family's going to come out for the opening, a little celebration. A couple members of the Slack community are coming out to say hi. So should be a fun week, even if a long and a tiring one. I look forward to seeing my guest bedroom in your New York apartment soon. But until we upload again, we've got miles to go.
Wait, were you recording when I said that, or would you push after?
No, okay, I pushed after. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No.
Nobody will ever know what I'm talking about.